We were married before December 7th. And he also joined the Air Corps, or Force now, but he joined the Air Corps before we were married because he didn't want to get drafted. He didn't want to walk. He knew he'd have to go to war. He didn't want to walk, he wanted to fly. So, so that's what he did. But the first place where I joined him was in, after he left Shepherd Field, was into Arkadelphia, Arkansas. And Joe and I were both raised in San Francisco. We'd never been out of the state of California. And I was 19, he was 21, or 22, 19 and 22. And just kids. Not a dime to our names, really. And my brother loaned me $100. And I got on a bus and I went to Arkansas. And I landed in Arkansas, and it was in March. And there was snow everywhere. I'd never even seen snow before. And I couldn't see Joe, but I got a message that he had rented me a room in a farm not too far from the college where he was stationed. And we called her Aunt Minnie, and she had this old farm on top of a hill with electricity, but no indoor plumbing. And here this greenhorn lady kid from California is on this farm, and I had a feather bed that she put a hot brick in the bottom because it was an unheated room where my room was. And it was a lovely experience. It was a beautiful experience. While we were there, Aunt Minnie's sons came home to visit. A captain and 2 lieutenants, I think. And Joe was a lowly cadet. And he came home for the weekend when Aunt Minnie's sons were there. And of course he was having to salute every minute, and they just stopped him cold. And they loaned him a pair of jeans and some old shirts they had left there at home. And so he was just one of them. Just before his flight training began, neither Joe nor I had ever been up in an airplane. We'd never been in an airplane. So that weekend, we rented a plane and we went up together. And that was our first ride. But we had many experiences along the way as me following him. We were supposed to get an allotment. Cadets weren't supposed to be married, so therefore we didn't get any allotment. But somewhere along the line they changed that law, and it was okay. They were going to give us the money. And by the time we were almost, his training was almost through, allotments started to come through for some of the other wives that were traveling along, following our husbands. But mine didn't come. And I didn't get any. I didn't get any until quite a bit later. One thing I should tell you about when Joe bombed Berchtesgaden, I was at my mother's in Marin County, and they had no telephone. There was, they sort of pioneered out in the country, and at that time there was no phone. So I had no idea what had happened until my father, who worked in San Francisco, came home that evening with the newspaper that he always brought home. And he handed me the newspaper without saying anything. I opened it up, and it was folded. Joe's picture was on the front, but it was folded under, and I didn't see his face. But I read the headline, San Francisco pilot bombs Hitler hideout. And when I opened the paper up, I saw Joe's picture, and I started to cry. What'd he do? What'd he do? Because I didn't connect his picture with the headline, this huge extra headline of this San Francisco pilot that was Joe. But it took me a long time to forgive my father for for pulling that on me. And I missed all of the newspaper reporters. They were all after my. I was staying with my sister in San Francisco. All the reporters went out there. They interviewed her. She gave them all the wrong information. And but I was so proud. I was so proud. The thing that bothered me the most, I think, about the whole thing was that my sister said that I was not home. I was across the bay, and that there were half a dozen letters waiting for me. And it sounded as if I didn't care if I ever got any mail. But the mail then at that time always came in batches. And besides that, I was there with my mother and no telephone, so that's about it. Well, again, I was at my mother's, but this time we had a telephone. So we had contact with the outside world. And as soon as I heard that, I couldn't stand just staying there in the country with my mother. I just had to get back to San Francisco. And I remember I took the bus back. And San Francisco was wild. It was absolutely wild. The streets were just mobbed with people.
Market Street.
Everywhere. No, yeah. It was just I know it was night by the time I got over there, late. But everybody was hugging everybody.
Your birthday.
Yeah, it was my birthday, right? It was my birthday. And that was 1945. So I was what, 22? Yeah, I was just 22.